Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me for this first of 2023 online golf discovery conversations, our chats together in the evening. In January, we'll have them on Tuesdays. So tonight's an introduction to all 13 weeks of these online discovery chats. So this is going to be the topic for all 13 weeks. TV golf overcomplexifies your game. Hit mute. Become consistent. So we'll be delving into that for 13 weeks. It should be quite a bit of fun. Tonight's an introduction, and you'll see as we go through the topics we'll be covering to help you become consistent here more so than ever you've been this season in 2023. And you can kind of see here a little bit that we're at Pebble Beach again, like I like to come to us so often from Pebble Beach. So let me just do one or two more things here, and then we'll be able to get started. Like I said, I feel like TV golf overcomplexifies your game. I sent you this note about this in your Coach Now here the last couple of days. So, and I said we'll be doing 13 weeks of this. I wanted to show you that I put a quiet please sign there for Jim Nance and Sir Nick Faldo. Hit mute and become consistent. I think a big key to you becoming consistent is hitting mute on your TV golf telecasts, as much as I love these two guys. And that is some person out there building a log house, trying to hit golf balls in a prairie, barren, desolate land off a flimsy little green piece of carpet, indoor-outdoor carpet, with persimmon woods and forged irons, with really long hair and not too much skin on his bones. So, again, I'd want you to learn how a high school kid in 1970s Montana could go from shooting in the 130s down into the high 70s in 1 year without hitting range balls. So that's a big part of how I hope these online discovery chats help you quite a bit in the next several weeks. And for these 3 months, 13 weeks, these are the topics, many of the topics that you'll be seeing. Tonight, like I said, we're just kind of warming up. It's like we're on the driving range. And then the next 9 weeks will be like we're playing 9 holes. Each night we'll cover one of the words from our title. TV golf overcomplexifies your game. Hit mute. Become consistent. And then, of course, we'll get to go to the 19th hole at the end of our 9-hole round to relax a little bit together. And so tonight, these are some of the topics we'll cover, that I will cover in a very fast-paced kind of a way, as you can see here. I have about 10 or 12 topics to cover in about 25 minutes. So it'll go very fast. Your ongoing conversation with Joel. 2 great models, normal players golf. I love TV golf. It just kills my game. Open-minded, your mindset, description of the reality, your words describing your golf game to yourself. And I'll mention the concept of E prime to you. And you see, Tiger has the exact same problem you have. And I'll give you all a rule sheet, and then we'll talk about some ragamuffin graphics. So when it comes to your ongoing conversation with Joel, these online discussions intend to teach and, dare I say, enlighten you about discovering the truth about your golf game for the purpose of helping your golf game become more and more consistent. You all know that I enjoy just the facts, like my personality hero, Sergeant Joe Friday. So you know that I feel so sorry for you and for anyone else and for myself when we're deceived about things, golf-wise, when we don't understand the real facts of our game, and quite often we're making efforts based on things that really weren't facts. And so I want this ongoing conversation with you and me to keep referring back to facts rather than things that aren't facts, untruths, or things that we've been deceived about, or things that are just simply inaccurate. And so in terms of delving into this world of really trying to ascertain what your game is like, I would say there are two great models that I would highly recommend to you in terms of the published world. And these have both been around for about 20 years, I think, maybe 30 years even. But Harvey Pinnick's Little Red Book, it's if you've not read it, most avid golfers like us have. But if you've not read it, it's a series of short vignettes and stories by Harvey Pinnick that indeed looks about like a small red book, what you see right here. Harvey Pinnick's Little Red Book. I have it right up on my shelf. Anytime you're in for your lessons, you can ask me about it. But they're so beautiful because each one, little vignette, little story, is usually about a page or two, or maybe 3 or 4 pages at most long. Harvey Pinnick's Little Red Book. And of course, the other one I have very close here, right on my bookshelf, by John Stabler and Dr. Deborah Graham, The 8 Traits of Champion Golfers. And what's so great about this published item, this book, is that the main thing I love about it is that it's very interactive. It was written about 30 years ago, but it's still very interactive. And you can't quite see this. You can see a little bit there. But there are many, many little self-tests, self-evaluations that you can do as you go through the book. And I have several copies of this. You see this one's pretty well tattered. And this is not the copy where the first copy I read. If I had that one close at hand, I would show it to you. But all these self-tests have been filled in by me. Back in about the year 2004, I think, is when I started using John and Deborah to help you all with your mental game. So these are two fantastic books that I'd highly recommend you would put to use, partly because you can keep putting them to use over and over again. Like with John and Deborah's book, The 8 Traits of Champion Golfers, I don't have the one to show you where I filled it out about 20 years ago, but I've referred back to it and I've redone those tests over the last 20 years because we would sure hope, right, that I've been improving my thinking game and my mental game over those 20 years. And then Harvey Pinnick's Little Red Book, I know many people who've marked that up and taken a lot of notes in that. They can refer back to it. The contents aptly describes each little vignette, each little story. So those are two great models that you can use. And so when it comes to this, I want to remind you that I'm really thinking here about normal players golf, not a bunch of tour players, not a bunch of esoteric kind of out of this world type topics. And I just ask you 3 quick questions. Can you hit a drive-in play? Can you 2-putt from a reasonable distance? Can you hit a pitch on the green? So hold your answers to those 3 questions. I'll come back to them later. But again, I'm talking about normal players here. This is a photo of me. I have thousands of players' scorecards, some dating back about 30 or 35 years ago. And they describe golf rounds from players of all abilities. The 18-hole scores range from like 64 is maybe the best one I have to like 130. And of course, the 9-hole score range from like 29 or 30 or 31 to 65. And I'm describing the reality of each of these in the exact same way. I've altered it a little bit over the last 30 years, but those scorecards right there, you see like here underneath my right elbow, that's about a ream of paper right there of scorecards, 8.5 by 11 copy paper. That's about a ream of paper, right? So that's 500 scorecards right there. So I don't know exact number of how many I have, but I do know that there are at least 2,000 or 3,000. And the things I'll be describing to you over tonight's conversation and into the next 12 weeks are all based on those scorecards with a wide range of scores. And you'll see too that I am going to show you some scorecards from Tiger Woods and Rory McIlroy. But these things really relate to normal players like yourself. Now, again, TV golf overcomplexifies your game. I want you to hit mute to become more consistent. But before I go any farther, I must make this confession in front of you and everybody else. My name is Joel, and I'm a TV golf drunk. Yes, you heard that right. December's teasing commercials, flashing aqua blue tropical Hawaii golf scenes into my gray cloud engulfed Cincinnati home, telling me that the Tournament of Champions happens next weekend on that same TV. That gets me really fired up. I didn't see any of it this past weekend, but it would have been fun to see that aqua blue water out there in Hawaii. Now in January, right, we start to get these 2-second commercials of Pebble Beach and Torrey Pines happening in the next few weeks. Of course, those of you who play in the Winter Learning League get to play here those courses in the simulator. That'll be pretty fun. With that occasional quick clip of some great, amazing shot from some player, that gets me really fired up also. And then, of course, in March, we start to hear those beautiful piano ticklings of the I-rings, of the ivories, telling you and me that a tradition unlike any other will soon fill my TV screen and yours. That also gets me really fired up. So I love TV golf. I've been doing this for a long time. Again, those photos were taken in 1976 outside Billings, Montana. In the background, you see that we have the 4 outer walls of our log home we were building there, 6 bedrooms, 2,300 square feet. So it was not a cabin, but we were building that. And so I got a little break there. And so I love TV golf. Like I said, those photos were taken 47 years ago. Almost 50 years ago, those photos were taken. So I love TV golf, but I want to tell you, it just kills my game. But those, like I said, were in the mid to late 70s. Those photos were taken. In 1978, I was able to move down to Atlanta. And from those rustic beginnings there in the prairies of Montana, in 1978, I was able to start playing Druid Hills and East Lake there in the eastern side of Atlanta. I'm very thankful for that. When my game matured there into the 80s, I realized that these TV golf telecasts had really dramatically stunted my long-term consistency in my golf game. And then, as I got older, when I began giving golf lessons in 1987 as an assistant professional, and then I started doing it full-time in 1992 after serving my apprenticeship, I quickly came to the conclusion that TV golf does indeed also hurt the vast majority of players that I was trying to help. So therefore, I'm doing these online discovery chats for you, my golf friend, because I want TV golf to stop over-complexifying your golf game so that you can become consistent. Now, I'm going to tell you that I'm going to really kind of sincerely hope and almost demand that you will have a very open-minded outlook on these things I will be telling you, because I'm going to introduce to you many never before published, that I've seen anyway, golf ideas to you in our time together. And these indeed may cause you some consternation. But please, 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 please don't quickly dismiss these new ideas and observations. I feel certain many of you around my age, like me, kind of consider ourselves kind of hippie wannabes, or big brothers or big sisters were hippies or whatever. Maybe some of you were hippies when you were younger. And all the noble characteristics of those hippies, seem to largely emanate to me from their open-mindedness. They seem to have the bravery to try new things, to not get stuck in the, well, that's how we've always done it, mindset. And, do you think like me? I seemingly questioned everything back in those days, right? Like a lot of us did back in the 70s, 60s, and 70s and 80s. And I enjoyed and still enjoy staying open-minded. I just hope that now these days I'm doing it with a little more calm and respectful spirit. I would think and hope anyway. And a little more appreciation of other people's ideas, right? And not quite so rebellious, but maybe a little more revolutionary, that I'm not just rebelling against something, I'm actually doing something revolutionary, trying to create something good out of the things that I see that might be astray there. So I want to show you many things about your golf game that no one has ever shown me about my game. Despite all the books and all the magazines and the great players I've been around, many players never showed me these things, either through the written word, the video world, TV, instructional videos, or in person. So your mindset, I strongly suggest that your whole open-mindedness, your mindset about your golf game determines whether it will become consistent. And hey, it looks like the Black Knight, Gary Player, agrees with me, like he says here. We create our success or failure on the golf course primarily by our thoughts. Your consistent golf game doesn't just happen because of all these various little parts. Your 2-second swing, or your driver, or your putter, or your golf fitness, or because of the new irons you got, or because of the particular finesse wedge technique you've developed, or because of your golf psychology, as important as that becomes, or because of your practice habits, or because of your golf pro. As great as I try to be, that's not exactly what causes your golf success, or because of which country club you're a member, or because of the latest YouTube video you just viewed, or because of who your league partner is. He's not or she's not going to make you great, have golf success consistently, or because of the golf trips you take, or because of the tips you got from this month's Golf Digest. The common denominator for all these aspects of your golf game stays the same. It's your mindset. The old country song from Flint Black, I think it is, says that wherever you go, there you are. That's the main thing that is always going to be there for your golf game, is you, right? And you mainly are going to create your success or failure on the golf course primarily by your thoughts, your mindset, as Gary Player believes, and as he obviously showed us throughout his fantastic career. Now, as I'm saying, I want you to think about things differently and maybe be careful how you describe the reality of your golf game. The longer I've lived, it seems, right, in life and in golf, it seems like we have the reality in our world, and then there's the description of the reality. And I just wonder if it probably seems that way to you too, doesn't it? Two friends could watch the same president give a speech, same president, watch it together in the same room. One gentleman would think that he's the worst president we've had in our lives, and the other friend would think he's the best president we've ever had in our lives, even though the two of them just saw the same speech given by the same man who's been presiding over our country for some number of years. So again, it's the same reality, but it gets described by the two friends differently. So golf reality gets described in so many different ways that I think this creates a lot of the confusion for you, and this confusion has much of the responsibility for your game not getting more consistent over time. And I'm going to say the words you use to describe your golf game, most importantly to yourself, but also to others, largely determine whether your golf game will become consistent over time. But let me again make a very important distinction here. Your words only describe your golf game. Your words do not constitute your actual golf game. And so, as I said here, your words describing your golf game are very important, especially the way you describe your game to yourself. When you use words to describe your golf game to yourself and to others, things, well, can get lost in the translation, right? And there's a great principle here that quite often when we think in images rather than words, our game becomes more effective. Please appreciate this beautiful little half quote from Timothy Galway in the book, The Inner Game of Golf. He refers to the loss of accuracy that results from translating images into words. In the collegial world of academia, in the study of general semantics, they have a great saying that I love. The map is not the territory. So when you have a map of Florida in your hand and you're trying to figure out where to go in Florida, you'd say, well, that is Florida. Well, not really. Florida is not as big as your hand. That map just simply describes Florida. That map represents Florida. That map is not Florida, right? Florida is a lot bigger than this little map in my hand. So too, this is a great principle, I think, to understand that the map is not the territory. Your golf game is not how you describe it. Your golf game has its own reality, its own truth about what scores you shoot and where the ball goes and everything else. But how you describe that reality, I think, has a huge part to play in your consistent golf success over the long haul. So this is the scoreboard here. So some people would say the scoreboard from the British Open last year would say, well, it's a fact there that Rory McIlroy lost the British Open. I wouldn't quite say that. I would not say he won the British Open either, but I would say I think two gentlemen. Two gentlemen shot a lower score than Rory McIlroy in the British Open in 2022. I would also say that I think it's probably 153 gentlemen shot a higher score than Rory McIlroy in the British Open last summer in 2022. But it got repeated a million times over that Rory McIlroy lost the British Open. Also, most of us are familiar with this old photo here, right? Which lady do you see? Do you see the seemingly attractive young lady here? Or do you see the old lady, the old haggard lady? So my concern is not really which one you see or nor which one I see. If we really want to get to the facts of the matter, I think my good question would be, which one really posed for the photo? I would just like to know the facts. Which one really is it? Which one posed for that little drawing, that little sketch? So again, what are the facts behind whatever description of the reality we're putting on it? To me, makes things a very good question. So for instance, I could make this statement. You see, Tiger has the exact same problem you have. And as you go back through this recording, you can stop this and look at some of these finer numbers here. But many of you know this. He shot 71, 74, 78, 78 in the 2022 Masters. And he shot 301 heroically, right? To finish in 47th place. But you see, his drives out of play, 3 putts and 3 pitches, that's the same problem you and I have. Because we think Tiger could hit a drive in play. Remember, I asked you at the beginning of the talk tonight, can you hit a drive in play? Can you 2-putt from a reasonable distance? Can you get a pitch on a green? So we could ask the same question of Tiger, right? Tiger, can you hit a drive in play? Can you 2-putt once you get on the green? Can you get your pitch on the green? And of course, we would think, well, surely Tiger can do that, and I can do that, but I can't do it as often, maybe as Tiger. But you see, if Tiger could have done that better, where he would have just accomplished that throughout the 72 holes, he would have tied for 3rd place. 18 times he made the mistake that I'm referring to there, where he didn't get his drive in play. He didn't get a 2-putt, and he didn't get his first pitch on the green. So Tiger has the exact same problem you have, believe it or not, if you want to describe golf in that way. Now, I will tell you this. I'll just give you a little snippet of this. We'll refer back to all these things many more times in the next 13 weeks. But almost every player I meet tells me on their first lesson, Joel, hey, I'm not coming in here thinking you're going to make me into a senior tour player or a tour player or anything. I just want to be consistent. But when I ask folks, and some of y'all I've asked this, well, how do you define consistent? That seems to, because, a consistent game seems to elude nearly every player. Nobody comes in saying I'm too consistent, rarely. They come to me to get that consistency, right? I contend it has eluded them largely because every player I've known has never defined what they mean by consistent golf. And again, see that we have this problem. We're not describing the reality accurately enough for ourselves to really be able to experience it. So, I think what most people are saying is basically they just want to hit it long and straight pretty much every time, consistent every time, hit it straight, long. But they really don't have a clear definition, a more based in reality description. And so do you already have a clear definition? You can send that to me after the talk if you like on your Coach Nauer in an email or call me and tell me. And again, if you don't know what you want, you're probably never going to get it, correct? And then the last thing I'll mention to you here is, again, I'm dealing with you, normal players here. Of course, many of you know several of the players I've helped have won state and regional and city tournaments and even some national tournaments. But by and large, you know, I'm just dealing with normal folks here. And you may have noticed this, but some of these things, these graphics in this presentation don't look real fancy or anything, but that doesn't really bother me because we're talking about normal players. And the principles, right, that I'm talking about are going to hit you right where you live golf-wise. You can fully trust them. In fact, I'm going to prove to you as the weeks go by that it applies to you just as much as, like I just began to show you there, it applies to Tiger. So there's some of the normal fellas I've helped over the years out on the course in a lesson with their papers in hand, examining some of these intellectual aspects of golf on the golf course. And there I am in front of the Firestone Country Club famous golf tee there in Akron. And again, just to blew this up a little bit to show you, this is more than a ream of paper here. And there are all these scorecards, stacks of them. I have them semi-organized. You see I've organized them into different divisions here a little bit, depending on where they're coming from, who they're with. There's a drawer where I keep some of them. So you get a feel there. And all these, I've described those reality of all those golf rounds of normal people. Again, scores from the low to mid 60s for 18 holes, way up into about 130, twice as many strokes for 18 holes. These principles we're going to cover here in these 13 weeks apply to all those scorecards in a very similar manner. So those were the quick topics we covered this evening for our warm-up for our 9 holes together and a couple extras over the next 13 weeks. This also is another very simple description of the golf reality that many of you have come to understand over the years. And here's another one, very similar description of the reality. Knowing versus doing. There's the knowing the right answer on the top left, and then here's the doing the right golf answer on the top left. So again, Tuesday nights in January at 8:30, you can plan on us being here together. Feel free to ask questions in the future. Feel free to tap me little chats in the box here for the Zoom call. Most everybody knows how to do that nowadays. And again, with much respect, I consider Nick Faldo especially a genius. And then obviously Jim Nance has been helping us enjoy golf for about 30 or 40 years. So I have the utmost respect for those guys, but I'm just kind of kiddingly, kind of humorously giving them a quiet please sign there a little bit. Because I think there really is a way that you can play a lot of good golf, mainly by making it much more simple for you as time goes on. So thanks so much for joining me for this, our first online discovery golf chat of the winter of 2023. I'll see you soon. Take care.